Hi.
Hey, spring allergy time?
I know it's like this is the season where you come
Mhm,
smack out of viral season and
mhm,
into allergy season. And
mhm.
in California, it's really bad for people right now. Like the acacia trees are going, ragweed, the grasses are blooming. So all of a sudden, people are having a lot of stuffiness or runny noses, and it's a lot of times allergy or hives or skin rashes, eczema flaring.
Mhm.
So let's talk a bit about springtime allergy management.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it was the viruses come straight into it because I think a lot of people didn't catch on that this is actually my allergy season because it still feels kind of early here in Connecticut. But it has felt like spring the last few days. And the last 2 weeks, I've had so many patients come in with allergy symptoms. So it's like, they're waking in the morning with the stuffy nose, they're sort of exhausted. There's water accumulation under people's eyes. It's a drag. It's really tiring, right? And I love to think of the Chinese way of that. A lot of this symptom picture in Chinese medicine, they talk about as phlegm accumulation in the head. And I love that as a visual because literally phlegm clogging up your brain the way you think, you're slower, you're exhausted, you move your head and you kind of have a headache. It's just like having a traffic jam in your brain. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. You're just tired.
It gets behind your eyes. Like I think it causes a
Mhm.
lot of brain fog. And then some people really get itchy, and the itchiness can be a big problem, just for people. So what are the natural things we can do? So I'm a big fan of, like, if you need antihistamines, for goodness sakes, take the antihistamine. Histamine is a neurotransmitter that can cause issues, the itchy eyes, the runny nose. It can cause skin eczema. It can actually cause like bloating and a lot of digestive issues, brain fog, even depression and anxiety or obsessive thoughts, bladder frequency. So if all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, why am I having to pee all the time? That
Right.
can be histamine, and muscle soreness, bone pain. So it has this like overarching impact on lots of different systems. So if you are in a wild histamine explosion and you're experiencing some of those symptoms, I don't think you have to be afraid of using antihistamines especially in the short term. Like those are pretty good medicines to help you get through your day and get through the symptoms. What we want to do is also then provide some of the natural allergy support so that you don't need to be on antihistamines long term, or that as the allergy season continues and kind of progresses through the different blooms, your your immune system is less reactive. So there's
Yeah, and because it takes a bit, right? The natural things take a while to actually work in the body. So if you didn't start in February, now it's, toward the end of March. If you didn't start in February with all the natural stuff, you might need to patch in with a just over the counter antihistamine, right? Until the natural things can catch up because it takes a bit. Natural medicine doesn't typically slam a pathway, right? And just like shut it down. The antihistamine does. And the most common side effect is probably dryness. I was just talking to someone who can't take them because everything's so dry for them. So a lot of times people don't like the antihistamines with that, but the things that with the natural medicine, it's we're trying to stop this immune system response. And there's a cell that's like an immune system cell, and it's loaded with histamine. And if we can block that cell from falling apart, these mast cells from falling apart, and kind of stabilize the membrane, we do that with vitamin C and some other stuff, then you have less of that allergic response, which can be itchiness or watery eyes or burning eyes is one of the things I get. And I know you have a homeopathic for that, Hillary.
I know. So we're just going to go through a few of the things that we love to use. Um, and there's three different homeopathics that I tend to have on hand for people who have allergies. One
Mhm,
is called Allium cepa,
mhm.
and I should run and get a homeopathic, but these are the little boy run tubes. You can get them on Amazon. It used to be that you could get them in stores, but people are carrying them less and less. So they're the little sugar pellets. They dissolve rapidly under your tongue. They do contain dairy. So if you're very allergic to dairy, be careful. But generally, most people don't react to them. One is called Allium cepa. That's the medicine of an onion. So if you can imagine cutting an onion and all of the burning and
Mm.
red eyes and all the liquid flushing out that it causes, it's very similar to what your allergies can look like. And so
Mhm.
if you get burning or itchy eyes or a lot of fluid, Allium cepa is a good homeopathic. When you take homeopathics, you can do it using you, you usually get the dose 30C when you're treating acutely, and you can take it a few times in the day. Another one that works well is Euphrasia officinalis, Euphrasia
You
officinalis.
definitely need to spell that, yeah.
The notes, yeah. And that is a homeopathic made from an herbal called eyebright, and it's again an allergy treatment. It's for the runny nose, itchy eyes. And then there is histamine, homeopathic histamine that work for some people, histaminum, and that you can use as well in combo. There are many other homeopathic medicines. So if those aren't giving you relief, those are just sort of the like, try
Go.
this. Obviously, there's lots of different specifics when we use homeopathy. And so if those aren't working for you, they're generally likely not to do harm. But if you don't get any relief from them and you've used them a few times in a day, then just put them down. They're probably not going to work for you.
Mhm, but they can the reason why we reach for those first, right, is because they're pretty benign. As far as side effects, they're quick and easy to take. You can have them in your pocket, in your purse, whatever it is, and they can really help little kids who are having allergies, especially. So I like that as like a go-to. Let's try this first, and then we'll try something else. Another really big one that works for me is the green tea. So green tea is such an amazing anti-allergy remedy, and it kind of tightens up the back of your throat and where the nasal drip is happening, and it can just be really good against allergies. It has so many antioxidants. It also has like that little bit of a boost of energy for you, and it's hydrating, so you get sort of all those things at once. So if you're, going out for a drink today or you're making a cup of tea, the green tea would be a really good one if you're having allergy symptoms, and it's so good for so many other things. I love that. One of the few things that actually works, like, right away for me is green tea.
And do you ever do like green tea? If your eyes are really, do you ever use green tea bags or anything on your eyes?
I usually use black tea bags on eyes because 'cause they're just more tannin rich to tighten up swollen eyes. But that's I feel like that's less of allergy treatment than more of
Effective.
just swollen eyes,
Okay,
it's
so let's move on. So we've got these homeopathics, green tea, like Kara talked about. And then one of those things that when she was talking about the mast cells, the things that stabilize the mast cells is vitamin C and bioflavonoids. So but it takes a little while. So you need to take consistent amounts of vitamin C, and should have done this talk probably in February, but that's often the best time to start. But it's never too late. And there are a few products that you'll find in an herbal store or something where it's vitamin C and quercetin and bromelain together. If you're pregnant, quercetin is not for pregnant people, so be really mindful of that. We don't like to use it, but believe it or not, quercetin is in the skin. If it's in an onion, and it's also pretty high in apple. But I always think about it. It's so funny because onion is like causes all these what feels like allergy symptoms, but then
Mhm.
has things to treat. Vitamin C,
Absolutely.
quercetin together, it helps stabilize the mast cells so they don't release as much. Those are really good things to have in play as well.
I just came across an article which was really interesting about what's the most anti-inflammatory vegetable, and I was, of course, I'm gonna hit that, like, what are you gonna say? Because 'Cause I'm like, I wonder what they're gonna claim here. And it was onion because of the quercetin, which made a lot of sense to me, but, it's hard to get people to eat raw onions, right? You can thinly slice a nice red onion in a salad or something like that, but it's not as easy to get people to take that as in a pill form, but it's true. It's really good medicine.
I mean, it's funny because obviously onions are one of the first things you cut out for people with SIBO and SIBO's, so it's
Absolutely.
complicated. They don't work for everybody, but
But it's the most anti-inflammatory vegetable, I'm just
Kara
letting you
saying
know,
raw because
according to this article. I thought that was interesting.
the quercetin is best absorbed if it's raw, right? But apple is another place where you can get quercetin.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
And it
and
feels good on the back of your throat if you have allergies, right? Like an apple, a nice cold apple, oh, so soothing.
and nettles are maybe the last kind of plant we can just talk about here. Nettle tea is a great one to drink if you're having a lot of allergies. Nettles are known to kind of calm and soothe those pathways. It comes in capsules, it comes in a tea form. Hydration is also really important during allergy season. I think you are keeping the cell really moist is impactful, and using nasal sprays. You've heard us talk about cold and flu season using nasal sprays. Nasal sprays are also very effective during allergy to just help keep things moving, um,
Mhm,
and to try to prevent any kind of things that happen where you get sinusitis or sort of allergic sinusitis or the
mhm.
constant runny nose. So
Can
um,
I ask you a question there? A lot of people ask me this because they're disturbed about doing this steroid nasal sprays, and they sort of ask me all the time, "Do you think I should be doing this? I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. What do you think?"
Well, I think it just depends on the degree of suffering. And
Mm,
it's always like better living with chemistry in a sense, like for to alleviate suffering. Like Kara and I
mhm,
are never going to like die on the sword of natural medicine. Like there are
mhm,
other tools around that have been developed. And so like you can do a yes and. If you need Flonase or a steroid, topical steroid to get you through the worst part of your symptoms so that you can function and go to work, I mean, for goodness sakes, you do it. And then what you need to do is really write down your allergy start date when things got bad. And then a month before next year, you're really pre-partying with some of these the
right.
mast cell stabilizers so that you're not in such a pickle. But if you're like waking up in the day and you can't get through the day or you're so drippy,
Yeah.
I mean, let's use the tools that we have. So
Mhm,
using a Flonase or something like that, that's all over the counter now. You don't even need to get a prescription for
mhm.
those things. If you're needing to use them multiple months at a time because you have something
Right.
chronic, then you need to really work with somebody to say, why am I, are there
Mhm,
environmental toxicants in my home? Is there mold or are there mildews that are impacting me or setting me up for these long-term chronic allergy symptoms? But if you're like literally stuff's blooming in your house and you always get allergies and you're right in the middle of that, then
mhm.
make yourself feel okay. It's okay.
How how often do you think of food is at play here, and we don't think of that enough? So how
So I
often
think
do you
that
think that's important?
the foods contribute to underlying inflammation. Oh my God, the sun is outrageous right now. So the foods contribute to underlying inflammation.
Mhm,
And that means that if you're eating something that is a trigger for you, wheat or dairy, let's say, or eggs, and you're eating them frequently, that's causing this low grade inflammation in the gut. And
mhm,
what we think about, it's like a total load. We think about all the different things that you're doing in your life that are inflammatory.
mhm.
If you're under a big stress and then you're eating foods that aren't working for your gut and then you're exposed, you might have a much bigger allergen response than if you're just exposed to the trees. But your gut is really in good shape and you're managing your stress well from different lifestyle things that you're doing. So what we want to look at during allergy time, if you are a person that always gets seasonal allergies and
Mhm.
you have never looked at food sensitivities, you are missing the mark.
Yeah, I
If
think that's
you
true.
have eczema or recurrent skin issues or
Mhm,
recurrent drippy nose that keeps coming, or you need antihistamines for a lot of the spring, you're
mhm,
missing the mark if you haven't looked at your gut health
mhm.
and looked at food sensitivities.
And, like, how often do you need to buy new tissue boxes? I think that's kind of a thing because I feel like a lot of people, when I start talking to them, they're like, "Oh, well, I have to blow my nose, like, a lot in the morning." I'm like, "Really?" Like, okay, after the shower, after you exercise and move stuff, like, there are times where, yeah, we should be blowing our noses or whatever, but if you're just, like, constantly having to buy tissue boxes, that feels like a little bit more. I feel like people have this chronic rhinitis, which is like a drippy nose and postnasal drip, and they have like a little sore throat in the morning often. And it's not recognized because you're always just like this, you've been like this for so long, but it's not recognized as a problem. It is dragging your energy down, no doubt about it. You will have more of a robust sense of like, I'm alive, if you get rid of those symptoms. It's a big deal. Allergies just drain us. They're exhausting.
It's a really big deal. And
Mhm.
if you're experiencing these symptoms again for the first time, or
Mhm.
it's new to you, because women in perimenopause or menopause can sometimes develop allergies that they never had before. So, and that's from hormone shifts. We've talked about it in different shows. We'll talk about it again. We don't need to go into it now, but like, so
Mhm.
if these things are new to you, or again, if you're outside of your normal window, waking up stuffy is not normal.
Mhm.
Having a little clearing cough or postnasal drip, that is not a normal state of being. And
Mhm.
it may be your normal, but that means that you need to do some work to unpack what's happening.
Mhm.
Is there an environmental toxicant in your house that's triggering you? Is it coming from your gut? Usually it's both. So usually there's a little bit of both. And
Mhm.
the first place, because the thing that we can control the most is our diet and our inputs. And if you're having a lot of allergens here and you're just assuming it's seasonal, but it's continuing into the season for you, or starting
Mhm.
ahead of time, or you're having it all the time, please understand that you have likely your gut inflammation or food sensitivities are contributing to your total load. Your immune system is on fire, releasing a lot of histamine, and you need to figure out the why. That's a big reason we do seasonal detox. Ours this year starts April 22nd. It's 2024 if you're watching this, but April
Glad you
22nd.
told me.
And we're really focused on skin, but it all comes from GI health and from allergies. If you're having a lot of allergies in this early part of the season, do our April detox, because you'll learn a lot of information and you can kind of clean things up. A lot of times, if you've had a bad seasonal allergy season, it really helps to do a detox towards the end of that, to just do a good cleanup on aisle 9 so that you go into the summer with clear mind, clear head. Remember, like Kara just described in Chinese medicine, it's phlegm accumulation, which also contributes to not thinking as clearly, not having as much energy. And
There was a break in my house. I must go before my dog steps on glass. Bye,
okay,
Hill.
bye everybody. Bye.